big news in that just seems like every so often. I go back to New York State. Back in the 1980s, they had the Hudson Valley sightings. I don't know if you ever heard about that. They had a lot of sightings. And I met people who lived up there and that at the time said, Pete, a lot of them sightings never made the newspapers. I mean, a lot of sightings. So what I'm saying, every once in a while, these UFOs make an appearance like a wave of sightings. So now you got to wonder is when's the next time they're going to make an appearance with a lot of sightings and that.
Yeah, I believe that we're a lot closer now than what we were even 10 years ago to actually get to meet what might be aboard these ships.
Yeah. But then you always wonder what the whole story is about it. But as far as the ridicule and laughter goes, it's not near as much as it used to be. If I'd reported my sighting back in 1958 when I had it, I'd probably been laughed out of high school.
Yeah.
But now people are really wondering more and more about it. But I have to admit, too, though, a lot of people could care less. You know why? As long as it doesn't affect them. They got their own lives to live in that, which is fine in that, But as long as people don't come up to me and say, well, there ain't no such thing as UFO, and I can say, look, you do your own research, then get back with me. Just don't make the statement like that, but do your own research. Be open-minded about it. That's all.
Yep. Do you believe that the government of the world has any top-secret projects that could account for some of the false reportings?
Oh, you mean misinformation?
Like misinformation, working on secret aircraft, Area 51 type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sure, that could be misinformation that they put out there to throw you off guard. And what we have to watch out for as UFO investigators, researchers, is that we don't accept a case and then later on the person says, hey, I made all this up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And coming in July up at Ohio, in fact, I'm charged publicity up there. We're having a meeting at the Ashland County Sheriff's Office. We met there before, our state group. It's open to the public and that. And this year we're having Travis Walton come in, and also the niece of Betty and Barney Hill. That's two of the top abduction reports that we've ever had. Travis Walton made the movie Fire in the Sky in 1975. He was out in the woods with about 5 other co-workers, and they was cutting trees and that. Coming back down the trail late at night, a pickup truck, they seen an object hovering over the trees. The pickup truck stops. Travis Walton jumps out of the pickup truck, and he goes running to it. And the other workers have to see a bright light. They take whatever, and later on, they fear 5 days later, he makes a telephone call, say, hey, there's miles away that he was woke up at, and the case involved. In the meantime, in 5 days, the Sheriff's Department that was trying to think the 5 guys done away with Travis. So they was going to hold him in jail and all that. And they vehemently denied, and they said, hey, what happened in that? And no UFO took him. Well, Travis, ever since then, has claimed that, he was taken on board and that, and has a heck of a story to tell. And that movie, Fire in the Sky, was made, but the only bad thing about the movie was when he was on board, they made it Hollywood style, you might say, where these creatures didn't look the way he said they looked and all that, and he was treated okay on board and that, and he was examined, but he was treated okay. But Hollywood, made a big deal of the on-board experience, but and he's still sticking to his story in that he's starting to make appearances again around the country, and he'll be up in Ashland, Ohio in July. So if anybody wants to check on that and the date or anything, just give me a call or whatever. Okay, address would be Around Town UFO Society, Post Office Box 52 in Circleville, Ohio, 43113. And also the email is Rufos, R-U-F-O-S, @columbus.rr.com. You'll see it on our website, aroundtownuFOsociety.com.
Pete, how would you authenticate a UFO photo?
Well, that's Bruce McElby is one of the leading photo experts in that, and he checks on UFO photos and that, tries to see if they look authentic or not. One of the most famous ones is Mickmouthville, Oregon in 1950. Took a picture and showed a saucer-shaped craft with a coning tower on top, and that's one of the most famous photos, even though it was way back in 1950. But nowadays, photos are so easily fraud, or it's a false claim, and that it's hard to tell whether it's authentic or not. But you do the percentage, okay? Like one guy has, I don't know, 400 or 500 videos and photographs of UFOs. It only takes one to be authentic to prove they exist. I think the percentage is with us that out of all them 400 or 500, there's going to be one that's authentic, if not most of them.
Yeah.
So, but to really say one by itself is authentic, it's hard to really tell. But it's the credibility of the witness. Like I say, that means so much in research investigations. The credibility. Okay, this Colonel Halt, he was the public information officer out at Roswell when this craft was supposedly picked up. Well, he later in life, after retired from the military, and that he still lived in Roswell, and the UFO museum out there. He was the one. He was a greeter. He worked at the museum. Well, he passed away a couple years ago. When he passed away, he left an affidavit, signed affidavit, and said there was more to Roswell than he ever told. And he said he's seen the craft and the bodies at the hangar, Roswell. And this was a signed affidavit when the man passed away. So see, this, being in the military and that, and when I can talk, I like talk. I was thinking, if I'd been in the military and had a UFO sighting, and they'd say, hey, don't talk about it, and I'm very patriotic, and I would regard my security oath, and I probably wouldn't talk about it. And that's what a lot of people, we have deathbed confessions where the guys are dying or other witnesses and that, and they talk about strange sightings seen over Area 51 and that, but that is some of our high technology craft and that we experiment with and everything. I was told at one time that just don't go out around Area 51. But Area 51 was always, I'll never forget the one person in the military, so well, really know Area 51. I said, I think it was Science Magazine just came out, and on the front cover of Science Magazine, they had aerial photographs taken by satellite of Area 51. And you know where the satellite pictures came from?
Where?
Russia. Russia put out they put Area 51 to show that that was it. So that's when it really came out in full blast, you might say. That could be where they test the UFO craft, but you can't really prove it unless somebody goes out there and sees it themselves and can talk about it.
Speaking of Russia, recently they supposedly found a corpse of an alien.
Well, a lot of that stuff is, I don't believe it because, again, it's misinformation or people want to make the news and that. But then again, that could be a slight chance that it's a true story. So you can't really tell because, the waters are muddied a lot because of misinformation and that.
Yeah.
And some people are wanting to make a name. But people that call me up and that, so I'm willing to, talk about it and that. I've known about it for years. And because of my personal sighting when I was only 17 and all the years I've kept my eyes and ears open, it's been interesting.
Yes. There's going to be speculations to everything on pictures. Yeah. And what makes me wonder is if someone does find an alien body and we do report it, what are we to do if they tell us to don't talk about it? Just going about it it's fake, or? It's 2 words. National security. That 2 words covers a lot, Brian. National security. Yeah. And you can imagine why. If the government says, you found an alien body, then the cat's out of the bag. Okay? It's admitted. And you're not going to stop. Then all the questions are going to come. Okay, where they come from? How long they've been here? All this and that. And if the government doesn't know all the answers, then it makes them look bad. It doesn't to me, but, it makes it look bad. Whereabout did you go to start researching this topic at, Pete? Well, like I say, I joined NICAP, and I got monthly articles from NICAP, and they have a station in Washington, D.C. that NICAP was. And that's when I really got into it and reading a lot of stuff about it. Then I'd go to the libraries and that. But, but what happened in 1989 was I'd belonged to the Center for UFO Studies out of Chicago and NICAP, and a few times I'd ask them who my fellow researchers were. Well, I never got an answer, and I found out later it was just a matter of privacy,
Well, I joined Mutual UFO Network, and it was in September of 1988, okay? And then October of 88, I believe it was, they had a meeting in Columbus, Ohio. Because of that meeting, I've seen some fellow researchers, and I found out two of them. One was Delbert Anderson from Laurelville, Ohio, and on the list was John Fry from Circleville, my hometown. Well, because of that, I got with them two, and we formed the Roundtown UFO Society. And ever since, that was January of '89, and ever since we've been still together. And it helps to have fellow researchers and that close by that you can, talk to and all that. And that's when we got a lot more information going. And then a few years back, we got Michael Moore from Asheville, Ohio, as our webmaster. And we used to for 14 years, we put out these newsletters. Well, we got with Michael Moore, webmaster, and we put them out on the website now. And it's what we do is, give out information to the public, the ones that want to know about UFOs and that. Here's what we know, a lot of it. And that's what we like to do. And we don't get paid for it or anything else. No, we just feel, hey, the public, the ones that want to know, here it is. And there's a lot more to it than people realize, I think, unless they do the research.
About how long have you been researching?
Well, off and on, like saying, really, I started when I was in high school and that, when they asked me to do a project on why you think it was flying saucers back then. That was the word, why flying saucers exist. And I started doing research then. Joined NICAP for 20-some years. I'd always get articles and that. When I was in the Army, I didn't do a whole lot because, I was doing my military service and that. When I came back home, I off and on. But because of belonging to MUFON then, I always belonged to a UFO organization. Either NICAP out of Washington, D.C., or Center UFO Studies out of Chicago, or now Mutual UFO Network, which is now stationed in Colorado. So I've always belonged to a national UFO organization, and that's where I got a lot of research from. But having our own organization helps a lot. And we have monthly meetings at the local library and that, and we go over the latest information.
Do you think that the government is building anything to replicate a...
Well, why wouldn't you? Absolutely. You'd want to try to gain that technology. Yeah, and the other countries may be doing too. China and Russia I'm just speculating, but maybe they're doing it too, because you get that technology, buddy, and you're one of the leading countries in the world. There's a lot of people feeling that the Clinton White House said, hey, people know about Roswell, go ahead and talk about it. Your security clearance is off. But there have been Washington, D.C., they call the Disclosure Project. We have had people come out and talk about it. The Bentwaters case, England, 1980. You heard about that case?
Mm-hmm.
That's where UFOs are seen out in the back of the base. And they talked about now in recent years, the former Air Force personnel, Sergeant Pennison, said he even walked up to one and touched it. I mean, these guys are sticking to their stories. It's amazing, some of the stories out there. They're putting their credibility on the line. They're not gaining any money from it and that. Why would they be saying this? But they're saying this is true. So it's becoming accepted more and more. That's the whole deal about it. It's being accepted. And the naysayers and the skeptics, I'm sorry, but they're losing ground. They might say they don't have a leg to stand on. But then again, what makes this you have to watch for is the hoaxsters. There are hoaxsters out there that want to make a name or whatever, and they'll do something and make it that way.
Do you think they are, like that Hollywood, that the government is, instructing Hollywood to make movies about UFOs and aliens to maybe break it in easy to us? Because 90% of people now believe what they see on TV.
Well, Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a good example. That was based on some actual events. The one event where the police are chasing the objects and that, well, that happened like up in Ravenna, Ohio, back around 1967, where police officers chased a UFO from Ohio into eastern Pennsylvania. That's a famous case. A lot of people probably don't know about that. And what makes our modern communication so nice is people can Google a lot of this stuff in the websites. It's just like not anything to do with UFOs and that, but I was telling my grandsons there over the winter about a snowstorm in 1950. Oh, how bad was it, Grandpa? I said, well, to get the facts and that, all I did was Google it in my computer, and it brought up how many people died from it and how big a snowstorm it was and all that. All the information was right there, right at the touch of typing it in. And that's what you can do with a lot of these UFO sightings.